He starts like many men today. He works, he provides, he tries to carry his life with some dignity. When the day wears him down, he reaches for familiar comforts. A quick scroll to clear his mind, a drink to ease the tightness in his chest, a late-night distraction to forget the noise for a moment. None of this makes him weak. It makes him someone trying to cope in a world that never pauses long enough for him to breathe. But there is a question most of us never ask. What if the habits he turns to were shaped long before he ever chose them? What if the feelings that push him toward relief were trained into him through repetition? What if the desires he calls his own were built by systems that learned exactly how to steer what men want? If that is true, then he is not living from choice. He is moving along paths designed to keep him predictable. Epictetus warned that we are ruled not by events, but by the judgments we allow to govern us. Freud added a deeper cut. A man is often a stranger within his own mind, driven by impulses he never shaped. Put these ideas together and a pattern forms. Most men today live inside desires they did not create. They follow impulses that feel natural only because they have followed them for years. So here is the real question. What happens when a man learns to separate what he truly wants from what he has been taught to want? The answer is unsettling for the modern world. A man who controls his desires is a man no system can easily use. Modern life depends on one quiet assumption. If men keep wanting a little more each year, everything keeps moving. Entire industries rise and fall on that simple pattern. The economy grows only when people feel slightly dissatisfied with what they already have. Advertising survives by convincing you that comfort is just one purchase away. Entertainment platforms thrive when your attention never settles for long. Even politics benefits when your fears and hopes can be steered in predictable directions. None of this means there is a conspiracy in some dark room. It means the world learned a basic truth about human psychology. When people feel a small gap between what they have and what they think they need, they become easier to guide. And when that gap is renewed every day, they become dependent on whatever promises to close it. The science behind this is simple. Our brains react strongly to short-term rewards and immediate relief. That is not a flaw. It is biology. But modern systems learned how to shape that biology. They surround you with cues that trigger desire before you even notice it. A sale banner that expires tonight. A video designed to stir outrage or curiosity. A notification that pulls you back into a loop you did not plan to enter. Those cues do not ask what you want, they tell you. And when your desires are shaped from the outside, your decisions begin to follow the same direction. The result is a life that feels busy, pressured, reactive. Not because you lack discipline, but because the world profits when your attention is scattered. Your impulses are active and your wants never quite settle. Which leads to the uncomfortable truth beneath this video. Nothing threatens a system built on endless desire more than a man who knows exactly what he wants and refuses everything else. Epictetus started with an idea so simple that most people overlook its power. He said that everything in a man's life falls into two categories: what is within his control and what is not. At first, it sounds obvious, but Epictetus pushed it further. He claimed that almost everything we chase, defend, or fear belongs to the second category. The only things that truly belong to us are our judgments, our choices, and the desires we allow to guide us. This was not theory for him. He spent part of his life as a slave, a position where almost nothing external could be shaped by his will. Yet he spoke of freedom more confidently than most free men. To Epictetus, freedom did not begin with possessions or status or reputation. It began with the ability to step back and see a desire as a separate thing from the self. A desire is a signal. You choose whether it becomes your master. This is the part modern men rarely learn. When a desire appears, it feels personal. It feels like an old instinct rising from somewhere deep. But Epictetus would say that a desire is only an impression. It is a momentary pull, not a command. If you believe every impulse defines you, you hand your freedom to anything that can trigger you. Epictetus offered a different path. He taught that a man becomes steady when he stops letting outside forces decide what his inner life should feel like. The world can praise him or insult him. Prices can rise or fall. People can misunderstand him or admire him. But none of that touches the only thing that is truly his: how he chooses to respond. And that is where control begins. Not in eliminating desire, but in recognizing that it is not you. It is simply something asking for your attention. You decide whether it earns it. Freud believed that much of a man's life is shaped before he ever notices it. He argued that the mind is not a single voice, but a set of competing forces. And those forces influence desire long before reason arrives. The first force is the id. It is instinct. It seeks comfort, release, and quick relief. It reacts to tension the way a flame reacts to air. It does not wait. It does not weigh consequences. It wants what feels good now. The second is the superego, built from rules and expectations learned through childhood. It carries judgment, fear of rejection, and the pressure to be acceptable. It pushes a man to meet standards he did not choose. Between them stands the ego, trying to keep order. It negotiates between impulse and responsibility, between what feels good and what keeps life stable. Most of this negotiation happens outside awareness, in a space Freud called the unconscious. This matters because a desire is rarely a clean expression of who you are. It may come from an old fear, a memory, a wound, or a pattern repeated so often it feels natural. Freud named this pull the pleasure principle. When tension rises, the mind reaches for the fastest relief. In the modern world, that relief is always one tap, one click, one purchase away. Freud's point was not that men are weak. His point was that impulses do not start at the surface. They come from deeper rooms in the mind. If a man never examines those rooms, he mistakes reaction for choice. But when he becomes aware of the forces shaping him, even briefly, he gains room to act instead of obey. He can redirect the urge instead of surrendering to it. For Freud, that is the beginning of real control, not perfection. Awareness. Modern systems do not need to force anyone. They only need to guide what feels natural. And the easiest way to do that is to work with how the brain handles reward. The brain is built to notice anything that reduces discomfort quickly. Food, sex, praise, novelty, and emotional stimulation all trigger dopamine. The signal is simple. Something felt good. Do it again. That response kept early humans alive. But in the modern world, it creates an opening. Whoever controls the cues controls the craving. Every major platform uses the same formula. Trigger a small tension. Offer a fast reward. Repeat until the loop feels automatic. An endless feed, a flashing notification, a message designed to spark curiosity or irritation, a sale that ends tonight, a video that promises a burst of emotion. None of these elements are accidental. They follow the principle of variable reward, the same mechanic that keeps people pulling slot machine handles. You do not know when the reward arrives, so the mind keeps checking. There is another layer Freud predicted. When a pattern relieves tension, the mind repeats it even when it no longer helps. He called it repetition compulsion. Modern design takes advantage of that. Every time a man reaches for quick relief, the loop deepens. Over time, the question shifts from "do I want this" to "this is what I do when I feel this way." That shift is subtle but dangerous. It turns desire into reflex, reflex into habit, habit into identity, and identity into something the world can influence with a small cue at the right moment. None of this means a man lacks discipline. It means the world learned how to speak the brain's native language. And unless he becomes aware of the process, desire will keep reacting before he has a chance to choose. When Epictetus looks at a modern man, he sees someone carrying too much weight from things he cannot control. He sees a man whose peace rises and falls with opinions, outcomes, and reactions that were never his to command. To Epictetus, this is the source of unnecessary suffering, not because the man is weak, but because no one taught him where his true authority begins and ends. Desire becomes a problem when it ties itself to outcomes outside his reach. When Freud looks at the same man, he sees a different struggle. He sees a mind pulled by impulses that formed long before adulthood, a mind shaped by fear, habit, reward, and memory, a mind seeking relief more urgently than truth. Freud would say the man is not choosing poorly. He is choosing with the unconscious tools he has. Tools inherited, learned, or repeated until they feel like instinct. Seen through Epictetus alone, the answer is discipline. Seen through Freud alone, the answer is awareness. But when you combine the two, a deeper picture appears. Epictetus shows that a man must reclaim the part of himself no one can touch: his judgments, his decisions, his direction. Freud shows that a man must understand the forces inside him that speak before he does: his impulses, his fears, his unresolved patterns. Together they point to the same truth. A man gains control when he knows which desires are his and which were planted, which impulses arise from clarity and which arise from old wounds, which choices reflect intention and which reflect conditioning. This dual awareness creates something rare: a man who is steady inside and alert inside, a man who is not dominated by the world outside or the echoes within. That combination is what makes him powerful and very hard to manipulate. A man who controls his desires does not live without wanting anything. He feels the same urges every other man feels. The difference is simple. His urges do not run his day. They do not negotiate his self-worth. They do not decide the direction of his life. The first thing you notice about him is clarity. He knows what matters to him and what does not. Because of that, he does not chase everything that flashes. He does not rush toward every opportunity, argument, or distraction. He moves with intention, not impulse. The second trait is his relationship with discomfort. Most people treat discomfort as a signal to escape. He treats it as a moment to stay awake. When a craving appears, he does not panic. He lets the feeling rise and fall without grabbing the fastest relief. That patience gives him quiet power. He can sit with an impulse long enough to decide whether it deserves action. The third trait is direction. Freud would call it sublimation. Instead of wasting energy on quick gratification, he channels it into building something with weight, training his body, deepening his craft, strengthening his relationships, creating instead of consuming. His energy moves forward, not sideways. The final trait is boundary. He is not cold or closed. He simply does not bend to pressure meant to pull him out of himself. He is polite, but not impressionable. Open, but not porous. People cannot guilt him, bait him, or shake him easily. His emotions respond to his values, not to the noise around him. A man like this does not appear dramatic or loud. He appears steady, and steadiness is rare in a world driven by urgency. That rarity makes him noticeable, and it makes him hard to influence. A man who controls his desires becomes difficult for modern systems to manage, not because he rebels, but because he stops responding the way those systems expect. And most institutions today rely on predictable reactions to function. When a man breaks that pattern, he becomes a variable they cannot use. The first system he disrupts is the consumer economy. This economy depends on constant dissatisfaction. It works only if people believe the next upgrade, the next treat, the next purchase will finally complete them. A man who controls desire does not buy to soothe emptiness. He buys with intention, not impulse. That makes him a terrible target for marketing. He is not pulled by trends or by the fear of falling behind. He does not chase symbols, he chooses tools. And systems built on endless consumption cannot grow on men like him. The second system he disrupts is the attention economy. Platforms thrive when they can trigger emotion quickly and keep it active. Outrage, excitement, envy, curiosity, and loneliness all generate clicks. But a man who governs his desires does not need constant stimulation. He does not refresh to escape discomfort. He does not chase content to avoid silence. When algorithms cannot hook him, they cannot harvest his time. And time is the currency they survive on. The third system he disrupts is political influence. Large groups are easiest to steer when their desires and fears move in sync. A man who controls desire is not easily provoked. He does not rush to join a wave of anger or hope. He looks for truth instead of belonging. That makes him immune to emotional manipulation. He cannot be rallied by panic or flattery, and systems built on emotional mobilization lose their grip on men like him. The fourth system he disrupts is the social marketplace. Many relationships today run on validation, attention, and insecurity. A man who controls desire does not seek approval to stabilize himself. He does not perform for acceptance. He does not negotiate his identity to fit trends. Because of this, he cannot be pressured through shame, silence, or exclusion. Social control loses its usual leverage. Put together, these traits create a man who cannot be pushed by fear, pulled by impulse, or bought by comfort. He is steady in a world that depends on instability. Predictable systems fear men they cannot predict. And that is why the man who governs his desires quietly threatens everything built on men who cannot. There is a reason most men never reach this level of control. It is not because they lack strength. It is because there is a price to pay, and the world rarely warns you about it. When a man stops chasing what others chase, he stops blending in, and standing apart always carries a cost. The first cost is misunderstanding. People may assume he is distant or overly serious. In reality, he is simply selective with where he puts his energy. But in a culture built on instant responses and constant stimulation, restraint looks unusual. People often judge what they do not practice. The second cost is friction inside familiar circles. Many friendships and routines are held together by shared habits. Drinking together, complaining together, escaping together. When a man no longer needs those patterns to feel steady, the dynamic shifts. Some connections fade, not out of conflict, but because the foundation quietly changes. The third cost is reflection. When someone controls his desires, he unintentionally highlights the areas where others do not. This is not his intention, but it happens. People may react defensively. They may tease him, challenge him, or try to pull him back into old habits. It is easier to question the disciplined man than to question one's own impulses. The final cost is solitude of a particular kind, not loneliness, but separation. He no longer belongs to every emotional wave or every social demand. His identity rests on something internal, not external, and that distance can feel unfamiliar at first. But the trade is clear. When a man pays this price, he gains something rare in return. His reactions become his own. His choices become deliberate. His life begins to reflect intention instead of impulse. The world may resist that change. People may resist it too. But the man who accepts this cost becomes someone nothing can easily control. Epictetus never promised freedom without structure. He believed a man becomes free only when he builds a way of living that protects him from his own impulses. His method rested on 3 disciplines: Together they act like a framework for bringing desire back under your direction. The first discipline is the discipline of desire. Epictetus taught that most suffering comes from wanting what lies outside our control. So he advised something simple but powerful. Each day, notice what you want. Then ask whether it depends on you or on something you cannot command. If it depends on chance, approval, timing, or other people, loosen your grip on it. Redirect your desire toward things you can actually build. Your effort, your standards, your actions. This shift removes desire from the world's hands and puts it back into yours. The second discipline is the discipline of action. Epictetus believed that action should follow principle, not impulse. When a desire rises, he suggested asking a quiet question. If I were the man I want to become, what would I do next? This question is not dramatic. It simply places identity above craving. It forces the mind to choose direction instead of relief. Over time, this becomes a habit. Action starts reflecting intention, not mood. The third discipline is the discipline of assent. This is Epictetus's way of saying that not every thought deserves agreement. A thought can appear without being true. An impulse can appear without being wise. When a desire pushes you, pause before obeying. Ask whether the thought guiding it is accurate or just automatic. This pause creates space. Space is where control begins. For Epictetus, these disciplines were not rules. They were training. Training that turns reaction into strategy. Training that turns noise into clarity. Training that turns desire from something that pulls you into something you steer. A man who practices these disciplines does not suppress desire. He directs it. And that distinction is what makes him free in a world where most people are pushed by everything except themselves. Freud was clear about one thing: desire cannot be erased. When a man tries to suppress it, the desire does not die. It hides. It returns through anxiety, addiction, or sudden impulses that feel stronger than before. Pushing it down only gives it a darker shape. His solution was sublimation. Sublimation takes the force behind a desire and gives it a direction that strengthens you. It does not deny the urge, it reassigns it. It turns raw tension into something useful. You see this in men who grow. A man channels sexual energy into training and becomes disciplined instead of restless. A man channels frustration into work and becomes capable instead of reactive. A man channels the need for approval into long-term creation and builds something solid instead of chasing quick validation. The desire remains, but it fuels progress instead of escape. Freud viewed sublimation as a sign of maturity, not morality, not restraint for its own sake, maturity. The ability to guide an impulse rather than obey it. Quick pleasure fades in minutes. Sublimated energy compounds over years. This matters because it changes the role desire plays. Instead of being a command, it becomes material. Something you can shape, something you can use. And once you can use it, it no longer pulls you toward whatever is nearest. Freud's point was simple. Control does not come from shutting down desire. Control comes from giving desire a higher outlet. A man who learns this stops fighting himself. He stops wasting energy on relief and starts investing it in growth. In a world built on easy gratification, a man who turns desire upward instead of outward becomes rare. He becomes steady, and he becomes very difficult to influence. A man does not gain control simply by wanting it. Desire sits inside a structure. If the structure stays the same, the impulses stay the same. Control becomes possible only when the architecture around desire changes. That architecture has 3 layers: body, narrative, environment. Shift these layers and desire begins to move differently. The first layer is the body. Most men underestimate how much biology drives impulse. When a man is exhausted, overstimulated, or under-recovered, self-control collapses. Not because he lacks discipline, but because his system is flooded. A tired mind reaches for the fastest relief. A restored mind can pause. This is why small habits matter. Clean sleep, consistent movement, less stimulus late at night. These changes steady the nervous system, and a steady system reduces impulsive decisions. Control does not start in the mind. It starts in the body that houses the mind. The second layer is the narrative. Every man carries hidden lines that justify his impulses. I earned this. I need this. Life is short. This one time won't matter. These stories feel harmless, but they shape behavior more than logic does. The key is rewriting the narrative so desire answers to identity, not emotion. A simple shift is enough. Instead of asking what will feel good now, ask what action respects the man you are trying to become. That single question changes the frame. It turns the impulse into a choice instead of a reaction. Narratives define direction long before discipline does. The third layer is the environment. A man's surroundings either feed impulse or protect him from it. If cues for distraction sit within reach, the impulse wins. If he surrounds himself with people who normalize instant escape, he joins them without noticing. But when he removes constant triggers and builds friction around bad habits, desire weakens. When he chooses company that values direction over impulse, desire shifts again. Environment is not decoration, it is leverage. These three layers work together. The body gives stability, the narrative gives aim. The environment gives support. No single layer is enough. But when all three align, desire stops dragging a man. It begins to follow him. And in a world built to steer desire, a man who shapes his own architecture becomes someone the world cannot easily move. Return to the man we met at the beginning. A man trying to keep his balance in a world that never stops pressing in. He reached for quick relief because it was the only thing that gave him space to breathe. None of that made him weak. It made him someone trying to survive in a culture built around constant stimulation. But something shifts when a man stops letting desire lead him. He still feels the pull. He still feels stress, restlessness, and the weight of expectation. The difference is that he no longer moves automatically. He recognizes the moment before the impulse takes over. He sees the gap between feeling and action. Epictetus would call that gap freedom, the point where a man chooses his response instead of inheriting it. Freud would call it awareness, the moment when hidden impulses lose their power because they have been brought into the light. Together they describe a man who understands both the world outside him and the forces inside him. A man like this becomes difficult to move. He does not chase trends or panic at pressure. He does not fold under judgment or reach for the quickest escape. Systems built on insecurity cannot steer him. Systems built on craving cannot bait him. His direction comes from within, not from whatever shouts the loudest. In an age addicted to speed and noise, a man who governs his desires stands out without trying. He becomes steady in places where others shake. He becomes centered in moments where others scatter. And that steadiness is its own form of power. If you want to build that kind of inner authority, stay with this channel. We will keep going, one layer at a time, until desire becomes something you guide, not something you serve.